Now, a lot of Christians they get very offended when you say this, right? That see, the Bible is dealing with spells and incantations and whatnot. But see, obviously, like if we are dealing with possessions, you have people in church catching the Holy Ghost.
Yes, sir. With the one and only, the Most High, Ahmose, it's an honor to have you on the platform.
It's an honor to be here.
Yes. So introduce me to yourself, Ahmose.
Alright, so I'm the Most High. Like, y'all can follow me on IG if y'all haven't already. So I break down universal truth, like right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding. My science is Nuwaubu. I get it directly from the source. You know, I was raised in the community. I was born in the community. I was born like around the era of Tamaray. You know, my father is Dr. Malachi Z. York, so I've always been around an abundance of knowledge and information. So I've acquired all this information so that I'm able to now share it publicly.
Yes, to the world, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get to the first question. How do you and the York bloodline get all into the consciousness of spirituality and healing the world?
Honestly, so although like the information was always made available to me due to like my family, right? But when they did take away Tamaray around May 8th, 2002, a lot of people left the community. And like due to a lot of people leaving the community, some of us were actually robbed of these experiences of being able to really experience the land as much. You know, like Tamaray went down when I was about 3 years old. So when we left, you know, we was outside in the world. And like as being outside in the world, you know, like some people got lost and even some people went straight back to Christianity, you know, just trying to find a way. So how I got into this was I ended up returning back into Nuwaubu when I moved back up to Brooklyn in New York. I went straight to Bushwick and Hart Street. That's the headquarters like of the Nuwaubian Nation. I went straight to Bushwick and Hart Street. Now I was about 17. Remember, I left, you know, I was on some knucklehead shit at the time. I wasn't really the best, you know, like I got removed from public school and all that. So when I went up to New York is when I first got exposed to the doctrine heavily. Outside of that, I was just regular on the outside world. But like when I got exposed to the doctrine heavily up there, I was still kind of reluctant. I wasn't really open to it as much because, you know, like I was still on like a money tip. Like, you know, I was up there trying to see if I could make some bread. Like being 17 years old up there in New York by myself in a building full of, you know, other Nuwaubians and people at that time. You feel me? So that was like one of the first times I really got exposed to the information or the doctrine. And even then, you know, I would constantly ask the brothers, like, how is this going to put food on my table? Because, you know, it was times up there where I would go a long time without, you know, like eating or consuming anything, like, you know, and not even just on no fasting deliberately. It was like a thing so where I went up there with the intentions of, you know, like up there fending for yourself and whatnot. I wasn't able to get a job in New York at 17 due to the fact that I needed parents to sign off on paperwork. I didn't really have that at the time. So, you know, I would have to find other means to try and, you know, come across some bread back then. But a good brother did suggest something that did get me to start reading the books and getting into the information. What he had told me was, you know, like something that a lot of the brothers do, like in the culture in Nuwaubu, that they go out and they propagate it. They go out and they sell books and incense. They go and talk to the people. So one suggestion that they did give me was that somebody did give me was, you know, that one way that you could acquire money, because I would always ask, like, how is this information? How is this knowledge? Like, I don't get how it's going to get me forward, because right now I'm in the root chakra. Like, in the root chakra is what is based off of survival and security. And that was what I needed at that time. So I'm like, yo, I can't transcend past and go into the higher chakras if I haven't conquered the root chakra, because in order to achieve your higher chakras, you got to balance out your lower chakras. So that's where I was at with it. And then a brother made a good point. He was saying, you know, well, one thing that you could do is that you could read and study all that information. You could try to sell these books to people, you know, and whatnot. And that's how I first really got into the information. I was like, all right, and that's what really encouraged me to start reading and studying the information. It was because, like, I was at a point in time, I was in my root chakra, and then I worked my way up to where I am now.
All right, so Ahmose, you're a highlight in today's youth, being the son of Dr. Malachi York, and you show a heightened degree of knowledge, which is like very rare right now, because people, you know, in the community, they really focus on pleasure this, pleasure that. Well, you have knowledge. How has you being a York affected your life?
how it's being a York affected my life. Honestly, it comes with a lot of expectations. You know, a lot of people, they have set expectations for, you know, how you should be or what you should talk about and whatnot. So now, if we look at York and whatnot, it's a label, right? And that we know that labels can be a manifestation of one's ego, and it can limit people as well. So now that's the cons of also carrying certain names and titles, because you're running with a title which already has a set reputation. You follow me? So I mean, it had pros and it had cons. Like, there's a good and a bad to everything.
Alright, I'm glad that you actually, you know what I'm saying, you realize that it could be a label as well, because that's like the con of it. Alright, next question. You have debunked, you once debunked the superficial meaning of love, right? And you even said that love is a chemical and a hormone that is addicting.
Right.
When you found out about this, how did this affect you in your relationships and your self-worth?
It made me be more mindful about, you know, what I indulge in. And I just want to make this clear, right? When I said that love is a drug, and I stated that the same hormones that's being released in your brain when you are in love are the same hormones that's being released when you are on drugs, right? When I made that statement, I'm not saying it with the intent to tell you not to love anybody. I'm just saying it with the intent to tell you to love yourself enough not to overdose, because an overconsumption of anything is bad for you. Too much of anything is bad for you. With that being said, like, love yourself enough not to give up, like, you know, your morals and what you stand for, or just give up yourself to please another person. So that's exactly what I mean when I say that love is a drug. Because even if we look at, for example, the average schoolgirl, you know, the average Ashley, you know, like when she talks about her boyfriend, I'm gonna just say, call him Tyrone or something. Like when she said, "Oh, I need Tyrone, can't live without Tyrone, can't sleep without Tyrone," and whatnot. If you replace the word Tyrone with meth, then you'll see that it's the exact same occurrence.
Ahmose, you was talking a few months back, and you told me you're a Taurus. Taurus also rules wealth in the material realm. This is a very hard question, but what has the material realm taught you about the spiritual realm? Because it's a balance.
That's a great question. Now, what the material realm has taught me about the spiritual realm is to approach life holistically. So what I mean by that is understanding that, like, there is a physical counterpart to everything as well as a spiritual counterpart to everything, and they all go hand in hand holistically, or as a whole, mind, body, and soul. So because anywhere that the mind goes, the body follows, and the body is physical, and everything in the physical has a spiritual counterpart. It's like science and spirituality. Science and spirituality that can be seen, and spirituality is science that is unseen. It all goes hand in hand. It's all intertwined. That's what I learned.
Okay. Alright. Ahmose, I looked at your Instagram and I still note that you study chakras and the science of our auras as spiritual beings.
Yeah.
If there's 2 chakras that people sleep on, what would these chakras be?
Man, I would say that the chakra that's the most slept on and the most undermined is our root chakra. Now, as you can see, I'm obviously wearing a lot of red, right? Which is associated with the root chakra. Now, the chakra that's undermined the most is the root chakra, because most of us just associate it as being our lower chakra. But see, we all come in this world by way of the root chakra. The root chakra superimposes or is associated with our gonads. The same way that the third eye chakra is associated with your pineal gland, you have a sexual reproductive system. Now, see, this chakra harnesses your life force energy, that being your semen. Right? And see, we all come into this world by way of the root chakra. Like, this is the chakra that grounds you to this material plane, and that grounding is important because you cannot access your higher chakras without first balancing your lower chakras. The first thing that you have to worry about when you do come into this world is what? Survival. That is going to be security. And it's like, for example, and see, what you need is food, clothing, and shelter, all things associated with the root chakra. Even when a baby is born, when it first is conceived and it comes out of the womb, it has a reflex called rooting. And now rooting is basically when a child or a baby, what it does is it tries to locate its mother's breast to feed for survival. So now this is why the root chakra is so important. Now another chakra that is also important that's constantly slept on is the solar plexus. Now the solar plexus is utmost important. Why? Because the solar plexus is at the core of your body. It's the nucleus of your body. It's the nucleus of your chakras. Why? Because if we look into the root word of solar, it's the root word soul, meaning sun. So the same way as within, so without. The same way that the solar system has a soul, which is a sun, and that soul can be spelled S-O-L or S-O-U-L, as in your actual soul, the very core of your being. And the solar plexus is also associated with the element of fire. So this is a literal fire burning inside of you. So that's why when you die, your body turns cold. Or see, when you die, they also say lights out, right? So this is why the solar plexus is so important, because everything has a core, a nucleus, a sensor. Like this is your sensor of personal power, the fire that is burning inside of you. That's why the solar plexus is so important. Even the earth has a solar plexus, because the earth has a core that emits solar energy.
Wow, you really went there. I really thought the weakest chakra that people need to work on is the heart chakra, because a lot of people have trust issues.
Right.
But I also knew it was the root chakra, because at this time, like, it's like people really be scared of anything. People be paranoid.
Absolutely.
They think when you reach a certain amount of status, you will sell out. And it's like, it's crazy. It's like people are paranoid. People always think anyone who becomes successful is instantly a sellout. And that's a paranoia.
That's a problem though, because see, each chakra is important. The goal for light body activation is to align all chakras and not neglect any one. Now see, what happens when you neglect your root chakra and you have an underactive root chakra and your lower chakras are underactive, that's where you see people walking down the streets talking to themselves, seeing things. Not saying that seeing things in the spiritual is wrong, but see, when you can't distinguish the physical from the spiritual is a sign that you have an underactive root chakra that's grounding you to this material plane for you to distinguish like what you're seeing with the third eye and what's really grounding you right here. You follow me? And that's also associated with an overactive third eye or a pineal gland. So I mean, gotta understand that even the third eye can also be negative if it is overactive. So because most people just simply associate the root chakra as being negative just because it's the lowest chakra and that's dealing with the material plane. But even your higher chakras can also be negative if made overactive.
Okay, a lot of people also struggle with the sacral chakra. What's the best way to work on your sacral chakra? Because I know even a lot of close friends struggle with the sacral chakra, which is, you know, not feeling guilty, embracing your sexuality, embracing yourself, and knowing your worth. Like I always tell people, especially people I know close, like, be like, hey, bro, know your worth, like know your worth, bro, like know it. So what's some ways to work on that?
I would say what you need to do is exercise a lot of your artistic talents, because the sacral chakra is also associated with creativity. So now, like music and art, and you know, like drawing and writing, like that's a great way to work with the sacral chakra that is right in the lower abdomen.
Wow.
So creativity.
Okay. I'm loving it. You're going in on the chakras. All right. So you've been working with a few good teachers of mine too, and that's LifeWave. What has you and LifeWave linking up brought to the community that you noticed?
Well, me and LifeWave linking up brought to the community, it brought a lot of our shit. It brought a lot of divine love. You gotta understand that there's power in numbers. And now, especially amongst like powerful people, like what determines a powerful person is knowledge. You know, knowledge is power. So linking up with brothers like LifeWave who have an abundance of knowledge and abundance of wisdom and whatnot, what that did was it brought a lot of our shit. It brought a lot of people out, and we even gave back to the communities that we came from. You know, that like we've brought many of people like back to the source, and that's something that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people give you information, but they won't take you back to the source. So, and that's what like we've been doing.
All right, do you feel like rap music can really affect someone and their mental energy, or do you feel like you can like still listen to low vibration music and it's just about how it affects you? So
the first thing that we got to do is look at what does rap mean. So rap is an acronym, rhythm and poetry. Now the rhythm is the music, right? It's the beats, it's the drums, and the poetry is the words, right? So now, how does music affect the mind? There's a whole study on this called neuromusicology, where they actually break down and actually show and prove how music can actually affect our brainwave states. Now, our brainwave states is directly associated with human behavior, you know, like what we're doing in our life. So obviously, the brainwave states that or the brainwave patterns that we are having when we are sleeping is going to be different than the brainwave patterns that we're having when we are focused. Now, see, music, the rhythm has been shown to affect this brainwave pattern, or you know, like it's able to change our brainwaves from one state onto another. This is why you can have a completely different feeling while listening to Ariana Grande and you do NBA Youngboy. You feel me? Now see, on the poetry side, we have words. So not only do we have to be careful of the rhythm, the music, the frequencies, and how that's affecting our brainwave states, because even binaural beats and, as well, with affirmations. Like, they told one plant positive things, things like I love you, and this plant grew more than the plant that's constantly being filled with hate. So now we have to question, what is this doing to us? So we got to be mindful of not only the frequency of the music, but also the words as well, because this is both rhythm and poetry when it's dealing with rap.
Wow. Okay, do you feel like plants, speaking of plants, since we're on the topic of plants, do you feel like plants can hear us? Do you feel like they can see us?
I feel like plants have their own form of senses that is different than our biological makeup. That is very distinguishable from our biological makeup. And
does this also apply to trees too?
Apply to trees, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. We have completely different biochemical makeups. For example, we have, like, our photopigment is melanin. Like, that's our photopigment. They also have, as well, but their photopigment is primarily chlorophyll. Now, see, chlorophyll is how they photosynthesize and convert light into energy, but we do the same thing.
Okay. You spoke on the dark side before, Ahmose.
Speaking of that, yeah.
What's one thing that you can help with the chosen ones to embrace their dark side and to stop avoiding their shadow? Because people are scared of the shadow.
The dark, yeah. People are afraid of the dark.
Yeah.
But what people don't realize that, see, the dark and the light go hand in hand. Like, it's like the yin and the yang. It goes together. Like, you can't have dark without light. You can't have light without dark. A primary example of this, or a tangible example of this, is melanin. The reason why your melanin appears dark is because it is absorbing full color spectrum light. Full color spectrum light manifested into its physical state is darkness. So melanin, as we just broke down, being a photopigment, captures light. Now, as it is capturing light or absorbing light, that is how it becomes darker. Because as the melanocytes are being stimulated by the ultraviolet rays of the sun, right, that's when it induces the production of melanin to become darker.
Wow. Yeah, you going in. We loving it, Ahmose. We loving it. We're in a time where a lot of people are codependent and they rely on relationships to fulfill their destiny. Yeah. What's the pros and cons of someone who's codependent?
The pros and cons of somebody that's codependent. So, to start off, the con of being codependent or just relationships in general, right, is that the root of relationship is the word relate. And now we both have to have something to offer or to provide one another, right? So when it comes to the cons of being codependent and whatnot, like, we should not be dependent on anybody to sustain us with something that we cannot sustain ourselves with. Because at first, before anybody can love you, you first got to love yourself. Before anybody can do for you, you first have to do for self. And because you are what you attract. So see, as you are doing for yourself, you will attract other people that can also do for you as well. And this is where we start to come together and unite. But see, we should not unite with nothing to offer. So we gotta understand that there's always gonna be an equivalent exchange in life.
I peeped the red.
Peep the red, most definitely.
Why do you love the color red? Put us on game.
So as you just broke down, I am a Taurus.
Right.
Taurus is an earth sign. Earth sign is dealing with our roots. That being our root chakra. The root chakra is also dealing with the color red.
Wow. Does red? What other things, like, what emotions does red bring you?
What emotion does red bring me? I mean, I feel like red is a vibrant color. Now there's gonna be pros and cons. There's two sides to everything. Some things can be used for good and negative, and some people might take it in their own ways. But like, red is a very vibrant and a very attractive color. Like I said, I associate it with the root chakra, so it helps ground me.
Okay, we was talking about this earlier. How do you like Atlanta compared to New York?
Yeah, so how I like Atlanta compared to New York, I feel like down south has more trees. Therefore, there's more trees to filter out the oxygen in the air. Like, there's more clean air up here. Hence why, obviously, there's more people who are sick up north in these big cities, are getting more sick that can't breathe and are coming up with these illnesses that are, I'm not going to say the names of the illnesses, but it's giving them a hard time breathing. So, but I do feel like New York is a lot more, it's a lot more fast-paced. It's very expensive. Things are way more accessible. New York can spoil you, you know. it's a lot harder to obtain or get to certain places in Georgia as opposed to New York.
Okay. What other states have you traveled that you notice a lot of spiritual elevation as well?
I've been to Florida. I've been to Florida.
Shout out to Florida again.
Shout out to Florida. Yeah, exactly. I used to live in a neighborhood called Pine Hills in West Orlando. And you know, Pine Hills is actually, like, Florida is a very powerful place. Like, most people don't even know that Florida is actually sacred lands. You know, in fact, like, it's actually said to have been a part of Africa at a point in time.
Whoa. Hey, all my Floridians, you heard that? Hey, a lot of advanced shamans recognize the Bible is actually a book that holds a lot of spells, and a lot of people fail to realize that at this present moment. What do you know about this, and what can you share to me about this?
Now, a lot of Christians get very offended when you say this, right? That, see, the Bible is dealing with spells and incantations and whatnot. But see, obviously, like, if we are dealing with possessions, you have people in church catching the Holy Ghost. Now, see, these are possessions. Then, see, we cannot separate that form of spirituality from religion. And not only can we go into the Bible and see certain words, right? And the way they word things, thou, shalt, can also be correlated with certain spells. But words in general deal with grammar. Now, the root word of grammar is the word grimoire, which means a book of spells. So obviously, like, we can associate those words with spells. But also, I want to break down the word Holy Bible can be traced back into Helios Biblos, or the Greek word Helios Biblos, meaning sun book. Now, we find all throughout the Bible references towards the sun. Down to Psalms 84:11, feel me, where it says, like, for I am thy Lord thy God, a sun and a shield. And then we also see Jesus being called the light of the world. He has 12 disciples representing the 12 different constellations or houses of the zodiac that the sun goes through. You follow me? And he's also a part of the tribe of Judah, which also is 12 tribes. So we can go all throughout the Bible, and then we can also trace a lot of these stories back into the story of Horus, who is also considered to be a sky deity or even a sun deity. And now the thing about Horus is that he was also a triune deity in a sense as well, believed to have been born on December 25th, just as they say Jesus Christ was.
Let's compare the division between the genders, between the black community and the other communities, like the white community.
Well, for starters, you never hear white men talking about they woman ain't shit. Or white women talking about they niggas ain't shit. Especially when we compare it to as far as it's going right now in the black community. So obviously there's a lot more division going on in the black community. The black community is probably arguably the most divided community here in America. Like, you got light skin versus dark skin. You got like male versus female, and this is how they keep us conquered, because that the European tactic is divide and conquer. So, and we got to come together, you know, as divine masculine and divine feminine energy, because, like, you can't have one without the other. Now, like, that's what makes it whole. The whole thing is balancement. Like, that's what we got to be achieving, is balancement between all things in life, and that is the core, the fundamentals, the foundation of spirituality is in fact balancement. Like, there's the yin and the yang, which symbolize an aspect of divine feminine energy and an aspect of divine masculine energy. And within the divine feminine energy is some aspects of masculine, which is why during early embryonic development, like, all human beings actually start off with a clitoris. The penis, scientifically speaking, actually starts off as a clitoris. And see, all people start off with an opening at their genitalia.
Wow. Okay, since you speak on the mind, right? Check this out. Which, like, when it comes to mind, right? What really is the mind? What is balance?
When it comes to I would say that this is like it's a philosophical concept, right? That we do see being applied in the Bible and in modern day laws in the Western world. Now, when it comes to we could see in the commandments, you know. Like in the 10 Commandments, we could see how this was applied and being translated due to the fact that the 5 books of Moses is believed to have been written by a man named Moses, who did live in Egypt and studied in Egypt. Hence why there's an essence of Egyptian teachings in the Bible. And then we also see the 42 laws of Ma'at in the 10 Commandments as well.
Okay, speaking on a different topic, well, you someone, I see you jumping with the gold. How powerful is gold to our indigenous people right now?
Gold to indigenous tribes has always been a symbol of prestige and power. And now you are what you attract. Therefore, like when you put on this prestige and power and this symbol of wealth, you attract it. So as you are, in fact, wearing items that may symbolize abundance, you will also attract abundance as well.
Okay. I'm loving it. Shout out to all the people wearing the gold child. All right, so the third eye is very, very, very misunderstood in the spiritual community, and you have hidden keys about the third eye. Put me on game, Ahmose.
Right. So now the third eye, most people don't even know that the third eye was actually once a literal eye in our pre-human ancestors. In fact, the third eye still acts as a partial eye in reptiles and amphibians, and there is actually a fish. Or there are fish that are eyeless fish that have no eyes that can actually move and navigate around using only their pineal glands, because now there are similar nerve centers that's found in our pineal gland that is just as the nerve centers found in the retina of our eyes. So the pineal gland can actually react to light in the absence of our other two eyes. So now this is a literal eye. The question is, how are you able to see in your dreams, right? Even with your eyes closed. And now the answer to that is the mind's eye, because the pineal gland, what it does is it's responsible for producing the hormones melatonin. Now the production of melatonin is what initiates your locus coeruleus, which is directly associated with your sleep. Now, like, this is a black pigmentin sensor in your brain. So now the pineal gland is associated with the dreams, which is also what we associate with astral projection in the spiritual world in our ancestral memory banks. So now we have the pineal gland producing hormones that is the key to unlock the door into our unconscious mind or into the spiritual world.
I see. Wow. What's some ways that one can open up that third eye more? Because people open it, but at the same time, the food closes it, because we know the food sometimes is tainted with, especially the lower vibrational foods like with Thanos. So what are some ways that we can open it more?
So now, as we just figured out that the cause of pineal gland decalcification, calcification, can be rooted back into poor dieting, poor sleep, and bad habits and whatnot. Obviously, diet comes from the Greek word dietia. It means a way of life. So now we know that how we're living and how we're eating can in fact help calcify or decalcify our pineal gland. So the same way as there were foods that can calcify that pineal gland or block that third eye, the same way that there were foods that can decalcify and actually activate or unlock that pineal gland. Hence why there's even herbs that can also help promote or assist the pineal gland as well, such as Damiana or even blue lotus. Follow me? So that too.
How has your lot journey, how has it transformed you when it comes to your knowledge on growing your power? Because hair, aka dreads, aka locks, is known as power, because they talk about it even in the Bible, right? So how has it transformed you in your journey?
So as this has transformed me in my journey, I understand that locks is an extension of your central nervous system. Now, I understand the central nervous system, or the nervous system in general, the central nervous system for the brain and the spinal cord. Now, in a story of Samson's, his hair was his strength. So obviously, I view my hair as antennas. So we can figure out too, obviously.
All right, Ahmose, I share for coming on Beyond 5D. Everyone who has watched this video, make sure you guys go ahead, like, comment, subscribe for part 2 with Ahmose York. It's been a pleasure to have you on here.
Pleasure to be on here.
You want to say anything last before we wrap it up?
Anything last that I want to say before wrapping it up? I'm going to say, keep on keeping on.
Yes. I shook.